Almost everyone today goes to bed with their phone within arm's reach. For many, it rests on the bedside table, while others tuck it under their pillow or even hold it in their hands as they drift off to sleep. The phone has become an alarm clock, a nightlight, a last connection to the world before bed, and often the first thing we touch in the morning. But along with this convenience has come a growing concern. Does sleeping with your phone near your head increase the risk of cancer? This question has gained so much attention because it combines two things people deeply care about: health and technology. On one hand, smartphones are essential tools for modern life. On the other, cancer is one of the most feared illnesses worldwide. When the two are linked in conversation, the fear naturally spreads. Social media posts, family warnings, and late-night articles often repeat the idea that radiation from your phone can harm the brain, especially if it's close to your head during sleep. But is this really a fact, or is it a myth born from fear of the unknown? To explore this properly, we need to understand what kind of radiation phones actually produce. When people hear the word radiation, they often imagine harmful rays like X-rays or even nuclear exposure. But not all radiation is the same. Smartphones emit radio frequency, RF, radiation, which is a type of non-ionizing radiation. Non-ionizing radiation does not have enough energy to damage DNA directly. In contrast, ionizing radiation, like that from X-rays or ultraviolet rays, can damage DNA and increase the risk of cancer. This difference is crucial. Your phone operates in the non-ionizing category, the same group as Wi-Fi routers, radios, and microwave ovens. So if phones don't produce the dangerous kind of radiation, why does the myth persist? Part of the reason is that the idea is believable. We know the brain is delicate, and we know phones sit close to it when used for calls or while resting near the pillow. People imagine invisible waves penetrating the skull, causing damage over time. Add to this the fact that cancer can take years to develop, and it's easy to blame long-term exposure to phones for future risk. The lack of immediate symptoms makes the story even more convincing. Relatable examples make this clear. Picture a teenager scrolling on their phone under the covers late at night. Their parents walk in and scold them. "Don't keep that near your head, you'll get brain cancer." Or think of a worried friend who refuses to sleep with their phone in the same room because of radiation risk. These scenarios are common, and they show how the myth has become part of everyday life. Fear of the unknown fills in the gaps where scientific understanding is less widespread. But what does the science actually say? Over the past 2 decades, researchers have conducted countless studies on mobile phone use and cancer risk. Large international studies, including those from the World Health Organization, WHO, and the National Cancer Institute, NCI, have looked at whether long-term phone use is linked to brain tumors. So far, the evidence does not show a clear link. Some studies have found slight increases in risk, while others have found no difference at all. The overall conclusion is that there is no consistent or conclusive evidence that sleeping with your phone near your head causes cancer. That doesn't mean the conversation is over. Scientists continue to study this issue because phones are still relatively new in human history, and their long-term effects are not fully known. Cancer often develops slowly, sometimes over decades, so ongoing research is essential. But if phones were a major cause of brain cancer, we would likely have seen a sharp rise in cases worldwide during the last 20 years of heavy phone use, and that has not happened. At the same time, there are other reasons to be cautious with phones near your bed, and these are less about cancer and more about sleep quality. Phones emit light that can interfere with melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. Notifications, vibrations, and the temptation to scroll late at night can also disrupt rest. So while the cancer link is weak and unproven, the effect on sleep is very real. This distinction is important. We should not live in fear of myths, but we should still practice healthy habits. Just because sleeping with your phone near your head doesn't cause cancer doesn't mean it's the best choice for your overall well-being. Recognizing this balance helps us stay both informed and practical. So as we begin this journey into myth and fact, we've set the stage. Phones emit non-ionizing radiation, which is not known to cause cancer, and the scientific evidence so far does not support a strong link. But the concern continues because of fear, timing, and the mystery of invisible signals. Now that we've looked at how the myth developed and what science says about radiation, the next step is to take control by separating myths from real risks. This is the first and most powerful solution because it changes fear into awareness. When people live under myths, they often worry about the wrong things. By understanding what is true and what is not, we free ourselves to focus on habits that genuinely protect our health. Let's start with the myth itself. The common warning is that keeping a phone near your head at night exposes your brain to harmful radiation that could eventually cause cancer. But as we explained, smartphones emit non-ionizing radiation, a low-energy form that does not break DNA strands or directly damage cells. The kind of radiation that raises cancer risk is ionizing radiation, such as X-rays or gamma rays, which phones do not produce. This single fact already dismantles the myth, but because radiation is invisible, the fear lingers. So how do we benefit from clearing up this misunderstanding? The first benefit is peace of mind. Imagine how many people sleep uneasily because they believe their phone is silently harming them. The anxiety itself disrupts rest more than the phone ever could. When we know the science, we can sleep with less fear, recognizing that cancer risk is not the danger we should be losing sleep over. The second benefit is better focus on real issues. Phones may not cause cancer, but they can harm our well-being in other ways. Blue light from screens can reduce melatonin production, delaying sleep. Notifications, buzzing, or even the urge to check messages can keep the brain alert instead of relaxed. If we waste our energy worrying about cancer, we might ignore these proven sleep disruptors. By separating myth from fact, we can direct our attention to the real problems and solve them. The third benefit is empowerment. When we let go of myths, we stop living in fear of things beyond our control. Instead, we take action where it truly matters. For example, someone who stops believing in the cancer myth might choose to keep their phone a little farther from the bed, not out of fear, but out of a conscious decision to improve sleep quality. That choice feels different. It comes from strength, not fear. To make this more relatable, think of two different people. Sarah spends every night worried that her phone is giving her cancer. She keeps it under her pillow, then lies awake imagining invisible waves harming her brain. Her anxiety robs her of rest, and she wakes up exhausted. Michael, on the other hand, has learned the facts. He knows phones don't produce ionizing radiation, so cancer is not the risk. Instead, he recognizes that constant notifications interrupt his sleep. He puts his phone on silent and places it on a table across the room. As a result, he falls asleep peacefully, gets better rest, and still wakes up to his alarm. Both people sleep with a phone nearby, but their understanding shapes their well-being. This emotional shift is important. Fear is heavy, it drains us. Awareness is lighter, it gives us confidence. By separating myth from fact, we protect not just our physical health but also our mental health. We stop carrying unnecessary burdens and start living with clarity. It's also worth noting that myths often come from love and care. Parents who warn children not to sleep with phones near their heads aren't trying to spread falsehoods, they're trying to protect them. The problem is that their warnings focus on the wrong risk. By updating our knowledge, we can pass on better advice to the next generation. Not you'll get cancer if you sleep with your phone, but rather phones can disturb your sleep, so let's find healthier ways to use them at night. This transition brings encouragement. We don't need to fear our phones as silent threats. Instead, we can see them as tools that need boundaries. When used wisely, they support our lives. When used carelessly, they disrupt our sleep or concentration. This balanced view is healthier than either blind fear or blind trust. As we move forward, the next question is, if cancer isn't the real issue, what should we actually pay attention to when it comes to sleeping with our phones? That's where the second key solution comes in, recognizing the real effects phones have on sleep quality and daily health. Now that we've cleared away the fear about cancer, the question becomes, if phones aren't silently giving us brain tumors, what are they really doing to us when we sleep with them nearby? The answer is important, because while the cancer link is weak and unproven, the impact of phones on sleep quality and overall health is very real. Understanding this distinction gives us practical tools to improve our nights without unnecessary fear. One of the biggest culprits is blue light. Smartphones, tablets, and other digital devices emit a type of light that has a short wavelength and high energy. During the day, blue light is helpful. It boosts attention and keeps us alert. But at night, it becomes disruptive. Blue light interferes with the production of melatonin, the hormone that signals to your body that it's time to rest. When melatonin levels stay low, your body doesn't fully switch into sleep mode, making it harder to fall asleep and reducing the quality of rest. Consider the common habit of scrolling through social media or watching videos before bed. It feels relaxing in the moment, but what's really happening is that the brain stays alert, tricked into thinking it's still daytime. This delay in melatonin release not only pushes bedtime later but also shortens the deep, restorative stages of sleep. Over time, the habit can lead to fatigue, mood swings, and even trouble concentrating during the day. Another factor is mental stimulation. Our phones connect us to work emails, social media updates, news headlines, and endless entertainment. Keeping this gateway to the world close by makes it tempting to keep checking, even late at night. Instead of winding down, the mind stays engaged, processing information, reacting emotionally, and anticipating the next notification. This state of alertness is the opposite of what the body needs to prepare for sleep. Let's make this real with a story. Imagine Alex, a young professional who uses his phone as an alarm clock. He places it under his pillow every night. Before sleeping, he scrolls through news apps and social media. Just as he begins to doze off, a late-night notification buzzes. Curiosity wins, and he checks it, only to spend another half-hour online. The next morning, Alex feels groggy, convinced he didn't sleep enough hours. In reality, the hours were there, but the quality was poor. His brain never fully entered the deep, restorative cycles because it was constantly stimulated by light and alerts. Contrast that with Rosa, a student who also relies on her phone alarm. But instead of keeping it near her head, she places it across the room. She turns on Do Not Disturb mode so only emergency calls can get through. By separating herself from the phone's light and notifications, she falls asleep faster and wakes up feeling more refreshed. Both Alex and Rosa use phones at night, but their different approaches change the outcome dramatically. There's also the issue of electromagnetic fields, EMFs. While science does not show a clear cancer risk, phones still emit signals to stay connected to cell towers and Wi-Fi. Some people are sensitive to these low-level emissions, reporting symptoms like restlessness or headaches when the phone is very close. Even though the evidence is mixed, keeping the phone slightly farther away, say, on a nightstand instead of under the pillow, can reduce exposure and may improve comfort. It's a small adjustment with no downside. The real danger of phones near the bed isn't hidden radiation, it's disrupted sleep hygiene. Poor sleep doesn't just make you tired. Over time, it increases the risk of weight gain, weakens immunity, and raises the likelihood of conditions like high blood pressure or diabetes. In other words, while the myth focuses on cancer, the proven risks of phone-related sleep disruption affect nearly every aspect of health. And let's not forget the emotional side. Many people keep their phones close out of habit or comfort, fearing they'll miss a message or emergency. But this constant connection can create anxiety. Sleep is supposed to be a time of release, when the mind and body recover from the day. When the phone stays close, the sense of obligation remains. Even if the phone doesn't buzz, the subconscious expectation that it might can keep the brain slightly on edge. So the healthier way forward is clear. We don't need to fear our phones as silent cancer machines, but we do need to respect their power to disrupt our rest. Practical steps, like reducing blue light with night filters, keeping the phone on silent or do not disturb, and placing it a little farther from the bed, can transform nights. As we move to the final part, we've reached the heart of the matter. Phones are here to stay. The choice is not whether to eliminate them, but how to live with them wisely. By now, we've uncovered the truth. Sleeping with your phone near your head does not directly cause cancer, but it can disrupt sleep, reduce rest quality, and increase stress. The final step is learning how to create healthy nighttime habits around phone use. These habits aren't about fear, they're about building balance so that we can enjoy the benefits of technology while protecting our well-being. The first habit is setting boundaries with your phone before bed. Instead of scrolling until the moment you close your eyes, create a digital curfew. Aim to put the phone away at least 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. This break gives your mind time to shift from stimulation to relaxation. You might use that hour for reading, light stretching, or quiet conversation. By making this a daily ritual, your body begins to associate bedtime with calm rather than constant alerts. The second habit is managing light exposure. Most modern smartphones have night mode or blue light filter settings. These reduce the amount of stimulating blue light the screen emits, allowing melatonin production to flow more naturally. While it's best to avoid screens altogether before bed, if you must use your phone, enabling these settings makes a real difference. Pair this with dimmed room lighting, and you'll create an environment that encourages rest. The third habit is physical distance. Instead of placing the phone under your pillow or directly on the bedside table, move it a little farther away. A dresser across the room works well. This habit has multiple benefits. It reduces unnecessary exposure to signals, removes the temptation to keep checking notifications, and even forces you to get out of bed to turn off the alarm, helping you start your morning more actively. The fourth habit is using the phone intentionally at night. If you rely on it for alarms, choose simple apps or tones that don't require constant interaction. If you enjoy calming audio like sleep meditations or music, set a timer so it turns off automatically. The goal is to make your phone serve your rest, not dominate it. Finally, the most powerful habit is reframing the phone as a tool, not a master. Too often, we treat the phone as if it controls us. Every ping demands attention, every light steals focus. But in truth, we are in control. We choose when to check, when to respond, and when to put it down. At night, that choice is even more important. By remembering that the phone is a tool, we reclaim independence. Let's bring this to life with an example. Imagine Daniel, a retiree who used to keep his phone under the pillow because he worried about missing messages from family. Over time, he found himself waking several times a night, restless and uneasy. After learning the facts, he changed his habits. He placed his phone on a small table across the room, turned on Do Not Disturb mode, and used a soft alarm setting. To his surprise, he slept more deeply and still felt connected to family, knowing important calls would still come through. Daniel's story is proof that small changes bring big results. Or consider Lily, a university student who struggled with insomnia. She realized her late-night habit of scrolling through social media was keeping her awake long past midnight. By setting a phone curfew and switching to journaling before bed, she improved her sleep dramatically. What started as a difficult adjustment became a cherished routine, giving her a sense of control and peace she didn't expect. These stories highlight an empowering truth. The solution is not fear of cancer, but mindful use of technology. When we shift from myth-driven anxiety to practical habits, we improve our health in ways that ripple into every part of life. Better sleep, stronger focus, brighter moods, and even closer connections with the people who matter most. And this brings us to the inspiring conclusion. The myth that phones near your head cause cancer has caused unnecessary fear for years. The science shows otherwise. Non-ionizing radiation from phones does not pose the same risks as ionizing radiation. But the real lesson here is larger than just debunking a myth. It's about taking ownership of our habits and health. For seniors, this knowledge offers hope. It reminds them that independence is not about living in fear of technology, but about using it wisely. For adults balancing work, family, and constant connectivity, it offers strength, the ability to set boundaries and protect rest. For young people growing up in a digital age, it offers guidance, the chance to build healthy patterns that last a lifetime. So the next time someone warns, "Don't sleep with your phone near your head, you'll get cancer," you can smile and share the deeper truth. Phones aren't silent threats of cancer, but they do demand respect. With healthy habits, distance, boundaries, and intentional use, you can enjoy both the benefits of technology and the priceless gift of deep, restorative sleep. That's not just a myth or a fact, it's a path toward independence, strength, and hope, one restful night at a time.